Hey, welcome to Gearheads, the podcast of CarCast. And today we're going to be talking about the car brand Chevy. We talk about car brands A through Z, and then we rank them at the end. So that way we learn a little history together. So fasten your seatbelts because this is Gearheads, where the journey begins.
All right. So we're going to start off with racing heritage. And Chevy has probably the richest racing heritage in the U.S. as a car company. They embed themselves in 1911 with Louis Chevrolet and William C. Durant in NASCAR especially. And they have put dominant force in NASCAR, winning pretty much almost every year.
Exactly.
So, and then in the early years, they competed in various racing events, and including endurance races, so Le Mans, all that, hill races, and speed trials.
I've got some stats here from NASCAR. So they have 814 race victories. That could be a little wrong. And that's in Daytona 500. Then 33 driver championships and 44 manufacturer championships just in Daytona 500.
They're obviously the driving dynasty of the U.S. for sure.
For sure, especially for racing. I mean, they do make a crazy mark for it. Let me look at the 855 wins. Are they top in the Indy 500?
I think so.
It only makes sense. That's a crazy amount of ranking, especially for that. So then, going back to 1911, though, is when they actually started with Louis Chevrolet and William C. Durant. But I mean, imagine them actually starting though. What would you think in 1911? That's when cars barely became popular and stuff.
That was probably before Henry Ford started his production line and all that. So putting the car together as it is was tough, just to drive around, let alone race.
Probably a bunch of people were saying, "Oh, this is never going to work.
This is never going to work." And then Henry Ford comes along. We have Louis Chevrolet and William C. Durant. They come along, embedding themselves as major car companies in the U.S., major racing companies in the U.S. Whenever we think racing companies in the U.S., we think Ford and Chevy.
Sure,
that's what we think of. We think of Mustang, GT40.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's talk about the early years. So Chevrolet completed various racing events, including the hill climb and speed trials, and the most known one, which is NASCAR. They actually date back to the late 1940s. Chevy has enjoyed tremendous success in NASCAR with numerous championships and victories, and they're most successful manufactured in the sport for sure.
You can definitely tell just by the way you look at the stats. They're definitely the most dominant in that sport.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, also, competing in NASCAR is one thing, but just last year they put their NASCAR in Le Mans, and competing in Le Mans, the toughest race in the world by far, and they did fairly well in their class.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially the fact though that
one from taking it.
Yeah.
They had to change some parts.
They had
the
to
body
change some
with
parts, obviously. But when you're competing against Ferraris, Porsche, all those big racing companies that probably, to be totally honest, do a little bit better than Chevy in those events, at least.
Sure. And the fact that it keeps up with it it's insane. Especially the fact that though it started out as a NASCAR. I mean, the switching the actual performance to one that goes in circles to one that goes in various degrees of
tight corners, all that tough stuff.
Absolutely.
And so Chevrolet's racing legacy extends beyond NASCAR, as we've been saying with Le Mans and everything else. So they go into drag racing, sports car racing, and off-road racing. They've got the models that they use in there is probably the Camaro, Corvette, and Impala, which have left many good mark on the racing.
For sure. So Camaro is more like their everyday muscle car. The Corvette was known as the sports car or the supercar, and Impala meaning just the everyday vehicle. But I must say though, it's kind of sad to see that Camaro is actually going to be gone here.
Yeah, it's just such a prominent, culture car in the U.S. especially.
For sure. especially the fact though that like everyone loves that car, and especially the fact though that it was one of the biggest drag racing cars out there. And then you got the Corvette, which they just came out with the C8 Corvette, which is a very beautiful car.
Very good car.
Yes.
And then the Z06.
That just came out, which has 670 horsepower, and with the flat plane crank V8, which is a very cool because it makes a high pitched Ferrari-like sound. Some say it's even better than a Ferrari.
Isn't it the most powerful naturally aspirated engine?
It is, and most with the exception of it being in America, though. Especially the fact though that it's more or less. I think it's a law around the world, but I think it's only for the V8. For
just the V8 class,
yes,
almost.
the V8 class. So, and then they come out with the 01, which is hopefully the twin turbo V8 that we all want, which is what we're all hearing about. But they definitely made that. All those cars have definitely made an indelible mark for the racing world, for sure. I mean, for Le Mans, for the C8, they've definitely
Yeah, they use the C8 in Le Mans, and it does pretty well.
very well. They've done definitely good in the past years, and they've definitely shown improvement. So,
yeah. So, even though Chevy's on the racetrack, they also have a huge part of the company in production just to the everyday person, which I think as a car company, that's really where you get your popularity, marketing to the everyday person, providing for, the families and, people who probably don't make as much money to afford sports cars.
sure, exactly.
Because like when they made the Camaro, it was right after the Ford GT500, which was cheap for the everyday man.
Yes.
But also the Camaro was a little bit cheaper, so more people were also kind of buying that too at the same time.
So the Ford GT500 is the highest Mustang that they built, and then the Camaro was the ZL1, which is the same thing. Which they tried to do. What they tried to do is just try to make it cheaper, still faster than the GT500, which is very cool because that shows that they're trying to still be reliable, cheaper, and faster than Ford.
Very much.
And when you see their kind of how they put in their company in racing and production, I think they almost kind of look at their marketing kind of like Ferrari, like the American version of Ferrari, just going all in on racing. And when we think of racing, we think of like Ferrari, right?
Sure.
And so I just think they're trying to approach their company like Ferrari, but also approaching it like Ford and taking both the ideas. And I think they've had very major success in both those parts of the company.
Yes.
And they also listen to the consumers and like, oh, this problem's here. Okay, well, we'll try to fix that in the next model or...
They fix it, yes. And I will say, though, that their reliability is not just one thing, though, but also, like, how they also do listen to the consumers by, like, saying, like, they're probably one of the best...
customer support.
Yes, exactly. And so they definitely help in multiple areas. So now we're going to... Which one we're going to?
The production cars are known for durability and versatility and value. Versatility is another word for durability, really.
For sure.
So they got models like the Chevrolet Suburban and Tahoe, which were introduced in the 1930s, and the Chevy Silverado, which is their main pickup truck of the market. And they have definitely commitment to quality and performance of those vehicles.
For sure. So like the Chevy Silverado, they have multiple options for that and specs. So they got, so like one of the coolest things I would say about it though is like their miles per gallon, the MPGs on that thing on their trucks with their diesels, when they put the smaller diesel motors, it's like 30 MPGs. It's like one of the best I've ever seen for a truck.
On a truck it's great.
That's fantastic. I mean, Ford cannot keep up with that, which is sad to say because Ford's also a very good company, but Chevy definitely hits the milestone for that. I mean, they definitely hit good for that. And
Chevrolet Suburban, when it was introduced in the 1930s, it was a mix between a tiny bus and a truck.
Yeah, it kind of did look like that. It's kind of ugly in my opinion. But I'm gonna say though, I thought it had a cool wood back on it.
Yeah, the wood stain, the normal wood stain,
which is kind of very famous. I like the way it looks on that, and I kind of wish that they could bring that back though, but like still keep it like reliable. I'm sure Chevy can figure it out because I mean that's what they're known for.
Yeah.
But I mean, the another thing I must say though is one of the newest vehicles they came out with, which was called the Chevy Silverado, but it was called the Fox Factory. So it was made by Fox, but they sell it at the Chevy dealership. So it's kind of like it's supposed to be the competitor for the Raptor R, and the TRX, and it's supposed to be and it has crazy Fox suspension on it, kind of like the Raptor R, which creates 700 horsepower. This thing is also a V8 supercharged, and it's creating a lot of horsepower. But from what I hear, it's supposed to be like $250,000, which is crazy for a truck.
For a truck, that's expensive.
That's very expensive, and so if they wanted to make like a vehicle that's for a competitor for the Raptor R or the TRX,
have to make it cheaper.
You have to make it cheap.
Way cheaper, especially the fact though that Chevy is known for the cheaper but better in a sense. So now we go to the recent years. So Chevrolet has embraced electric and hybrid technology, sadly, with models like the EV Bolts, the upcoming Chevy Silverado EV, and the Hummer EV, signaling towards the sustainability and mobility. So one of the things I would say about that though is that they're trying to move forward to that, but then they realize that that's not the way to go. And they spent a lot of the money back on the newest V8 that they're trying to build. They spent like almost $1 billion on it, and it was crazy just for that V8 because they realized that our power grid doesn't support it and our economy wouldn't support it. And
most car companies said that they're going to turn to electricity by 2028 or any of that.
Sure.
But then they've recalled it back to 2040.
Yeah, and this is another thing I think you pointed out, how Chevy kind of changes things to consumers. Consumers don't want to see EV cars, let's be honest. If you're a car person, you obviously would take a gas car over an electric car. But we also see because I think Ford was the first one to switch back to gas out of all the car companies. And then they see Ford do it, and Ford had really good success after they switched.
Sure.
And then they look at it and they're like, oh shoot, Ford's doing really good. Let's try this. And I think this is gonna maybe put them above a lot of other car companies.
Yeah. So like Ford made the Mach-E, which helped them a little bit, but then they realized. So then they tried to make another vehicle, which was the Ford Lightning, and then the consumers started pushing towards more engines instead of EVs, and so now the problem is that everyone's starting to realize this now. So now that's the reason why they're trying to push it back to 2040.
And I mean, but EVs are not much better sustainably than gas cars because we get mostly electricity comes from fossil fuels, and then B, to get the stuff to make electric cars is so bad for the environment, we might as well just drill oil at this point.
Exactly. So
On to legacy and impact. I think that's you, Roy.
Yep. So Chevy definitely embedded their legacy in the American people, which I think is just a huge part of our country and culture. Also, it's the bow tie emblem, worldwide symbol. I think probably everyone in America, everyone in Canada, everyone probably in Western Europe probably knows what Chevrolet is. If you don't, you're probably living up under a rock. And they're a symbol of quality performance, which I think is a major part of a successful car company and what we see. And going back to culture, I mean, we see this, growing up as a kid, how I knew Chevy was Bumblebee, Lightning McQueen, all those characters. Then you go out and you see a Chevy Silverado or like Chevy Camaro, and you'd be like, oh shoot, that's like Bumblebee or something like that. And you get excited. So I think that's just a really how they've definitely extended their success in the later years of the company.
Very much.
For sure. I mean, kid shows like that with Corvette, with Lightning McQueen, the Camaro, with Bumblebee. I mean, it definitely showed a significance in the fact that we always were like, oh, we want that car. I mean, we all wanted to be that. We all wanted to be that kid in the movies, and so and just actually seeing grow up in that aspect to get going to the fact that when we start to grow up, we're like, oh, let's get one of these.
Yeah.
And in a sense, it's actually a great financial success for them.
Yeah.
Very much.
And I mean, when this company gets started, it's 1911. That's really when, immigration in the U.S. is really booming. Like everyone's coming over, and we see Chevy's a huge symbol of the American dream. Starting a company and working and working and working and working, and then making it successful and just keeping at it. And I think that's what Chevy's just been doing, just working, and then now they're one of the biggest car companies in the world.
Absolutely.
And very much, you said that like they look good on the showroom floor, and they do everything, and that pop culture. I will say the Camaro and Corvette, when they're in a showroom or any of that, they look great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So now we go to the conclusion. So Chevrolet's history in racing and production is a testament of enduring, committed to excellence and innovation from the early years to the pioneer victory days to its current status as a global automotive powerhouse. Chevrolet remains a symbol of America and engineering and craftsmanship of the 70s.
And today,
Absolutely.
And then you pointed out, they've been through the ringer, both World Wars and the Great Depression. I feel like if you're a company and you get through that, I think you're going to be a company for quite a while.
For sure. And they definitely have. They've proved themselves throughout the years that they can hold themselves strong no matter what situation they've been in. I mean, they've proved everything, and then they're definitely a powerhouse with the LSs, but they make cheap horsepower but still reliable. And then they've shown that that they are one of the best companies out there for sure.
pretty much.
Yeah.
But let's get to the rankings. So if you haven't figured out by now, in the beginning they said that we rank cars A through Z. So right now we have Caterham, Audi, Bentley, AC, Aston Martin, Chevy is not up there yet. We got Cadillac, Bugatti, BMW, Alfa Romeo, Alpine, Apollo, Buick, and Acura. Why? Because we hate Acura. I said Chevy because I want Chevy to be fifth, because I still don't like Chevy.
I think it should be below Cadillac though, because Cadillac's just a good car company.
Cadillac, I mean, Chevy's good at racing, but let's look at Cadillac's hypercars over the past couple years, competing with probably some of the best hypercar companies out there and winning.
For sure, in the racing industry, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh man, but the problem is Chevy owns Cadillac.
This is true.
So they
still, but
we can't add Cadillac to like a Chevy company, so we can't.
Because I feel like Cadillac definitely earned their own wage in racing for sure. If I don't know really what you guys are ranking out, but I do believe Cadillac should be over Chevy for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
You're gonna be biased, aren't you? When you really put it at fifth.
I'm gonna be biased to put it at fifth. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. Because you want to know what? Chevy proves that they're one of the best. They do. They've just shown it. They've shown that. They've shown that they have improved throughout the years, and they've maintained and been reliable. The reason we were very biased with Caterham because we love Caterham very much because they're kind of cool and they're like a little Mazda, but like more horsepower. So you gotta put them first. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's biased. We don't care. You can do your own car rankings if you want, though. So that way, if you want, you can also be biased with us instead of,
against us.
So, I mean, if you're gonna make your own car rankings, send it to us, and we'll just debate what we think of your car rankings.
Exactly. So as you keep watching us, just keep following us. But I'm Skylar.
I'm Philip.
And
Roy.
And thank you for watching.